Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video I'll be demonstrating how to make the Brown Butter Shawl, which is a free pattern you can find on mooglyblog.com. For this pattern I used 2 balls of Red Heart Soft Essentials stripes, which you can see here in the gorgeous linen stripe colorway. I also used a 9mm Furls crochet hook. This one's from the Candy Shop collection, and I do recommend that you use a stitch marker. I love these ones from Clover. They're shaped like tiny sheep, and of course they work great too. So let's begin. Okay, so to begin the Brown Butter Shawl, I'm going to begin with a magic circle. I'm going to take the cut end of the yarn and wrap it around my finger twice. Then I will pull up that back loop to the front and make a chain 1 and pull it down tight. So that chain 1 right there does not count as a stitch. That's just part of me putting my magic circle together. From there, I'll start with a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, like that. And for every row of this pattern, that chain 3 will count as our first double crochet. So to finish row 1, I'm going to make 6 more double crochets worked into that ring. And I want to make sure that each of those go under both of these strands of yarn, the one that's still wrapped around my finger and the tail end, because that's what will help us pull it up tight. So after I make this first double crochet, I should be able to pull it off my finger. There we go. And the circle will be held open by the stitch, and it'll be easy to go ahead and finish this row. So let's make 5 more. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So total, including the chain of 3, that should give us 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's row 1. And with our magic circle, we're just going to go ahead and pull that end like so. And you can see it tightens right up. And I can weave that in when I'm all done with the shawl. And that will give us a great start for our center out shawl. So to begin row 2, I'll go ahead and put my hook back in the loop here and turn. I'm going to begin again with a chain 3. That counts as our first double crochet for this row. Then I'm going to make 2 more double crochets in that first stitch. So it'll count as if I had 3 double crochets all worked in the first stitch. And that's going to be true for every row of the pattern until we get to the edging. So we've got a chain 3, 2 double crochet in the first stitch. Then I'm going to double crochet in the next 2 stitches. 1, and then 2. Let me pull up a little bit more yarn here. There we are. Okay, and then in the next stitch, I am going to work 3 double crochets, and I'm going to place the marker, which is abbreviated PM in the written pattern, in the center of these 3 to mark the center of my shawl rows. So I've just made 3 double crochets right there. You can see all into the same stitch. So that center one is where I want to put my stitch marker, just like so. And I'm going to move that up with every row of the pattern so that it always marks that center stitch of the row. So from there, it's going to be working the other half of row 2. So I'm going to double crochet in the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And then remember, our first stitch is that chain 3, so I need to work into the top of the chain 3 as if it's a stitch. And in this one, since it's the last one here, and this is going to happen on every row, I'm going to work 3 double crochets. Sometimes working into the top of that chain 3 is a little tricky. I like to use the actual hook portion of my hook to help pull the loops apart a little bit, which is what I was doing right there. Once you've got that first stitch in, it gets a lot easier. But there's 1, and then 2 more. So that the basic plan for these rows, no matter what happens in the middle, is that you've got 3 stitches in the first stitch and 3 stitches in the last stitch. That helps keep our sort of winged flared shape. So that is the end of row 2. So let's go ahead and make row 3 together. Once again, I'm going to start with a chain 3, which will count as my first double crochet, and then 2 more double crochets in that first stitch. And then from there, I'm just going to double crochet in each stitch to the marked stitch. So that's where our marked stitch starts coming in really handy. You don't have to keep a super close count if you don't want to, as long as you're not missing stitches. Oops, dropped that one. There we go. I do recommend you stop and count your stitches once in a while just to make sure you're staying on track and not accidentally skipping a stitch. If you find that you have trouble and you tend to miss that chain 3 as a stitch, putting another stitch marker on the top of it will help you find it when you come back the other way too. So here we are at the marked stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and work 3 more double crochets in that marked stitch, just as we did in the previous row. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And now I will move that stitch marker out of that stitch, there we are, and into the center of those stitches, so that I've always got that center stitch marked. And then from there, it's the same thing again. I'm just going to double crochet back till I get to that very last stitch. And then remember that very last stitch always gets 3 double crochets. And remember too, that that last stitch is always going to be a chain 3, counting as a double crochet. So we're almost there. You can see you've got our last stitch there waiting for me. So last one, it's top of the chain 3. There we are. Get in there with the hook and make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. There we are. And you can see that is the end of row 3. Now row 4 is made identically. We just repeat row 3. 3 double crochets in the first stitch all the way across to the marked stitch. Then we get to the marked stitch. We work 3 more double crochets in there, move the marker up, and crochet across to the end where we have 3 more double crochets. Now, that is how most of the rows go, but there are the rows of mesh. So let's go ahead and skip to row 5. Okay, so here I am at the end of row 4, which as I said was just like the previous row. I've got 3 double crochets right there in my center stitch, and it's marked again. So let's go ahead and make row 5 together since it's our first row of mesh. We're going to start again with a chain 3 and 2 double crochets in that first stitch. That part is not any different for these mesh rows. So there's those 2 stitches. Oops, almost. Let's try that again. There we go. This is a nicely slick yarn, and these hooks are so slick it just wants to come right off. So we've got our 3 double crochets there. Then I am going to chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet in the next. So let me put my hand behind there. This white can be a little harder to see with the color changing yarn against the white background here. We just happen to be in a white section. So we want to go ahead and chain 1, which we've done, skip the next stitch, and double crochet in the stitch after that. And we're going to do that little series 5 times for this row. So chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next. That's 2. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next. There we are, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next. And then if we look here, we've done that 5 times. We've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next. So we're going to chain 1 again, skip 1 more, and that puts us right in the marked stitch. So in the marked stitch for this row, row 5, we're going to work double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet right back in that same marked stitch. So this is our current corner, or our center, I guess you could say, for row 5. So I want to move my stitch marker. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. And for this one, I'll just go ahead and put the stitch marker right in that chain 2 space. And that chain 2 space will be our new corner here, our new center of our row. So from there, I just want to mirror this side coming back the other direction. So I know I'm going to chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet in the next. And then chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next. Then chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next again. We'll do this a couple more times here as we work our way back to the opposite end. All right. I should have 5 of them here after the corner. Remember, this one belongs to the corner right there, our center, I should say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's our 5 repeats. Then we're ready to chain 1, skip 1, and work 3 double crochets right in that last stitch, the top of our chain 3. So wiggle my hook through there. There we are. And there's 1, and there's 2, and there's 3. And that is it for row 5. So you can see we're already getting well into our nice shawl shape here. We've got our first mesh row made. So let's go ahead and move on to row 6. Now, row 6 is going to be a lot like most of the other solid rows we've made. The only difference is sometimes we're going to be working into those chain spaces. So after we've chained 3 for our first double crochet, I'll go back in, of course, and work 2 more double crochets right in that first stitch. There we are. Then I'm going to double crochet in each stitch and in each chain 1 space until I get to that center marked space again. So let's go ahead and do that together. Pretty straightforward. Double crochet in each stitch that you come to, and every time you come to a chain 1 space, work a double crochet right into that chain 1 space. Easy peasy. Right on until we get to the corner. So I will meet you in our marked chain 2 space. So I've got about the first half of row 6 done. You can see I've got my 3 double crochets here in the first stitch, and then a double crochet in each stitch and chain space right up until I get to that chain 2 space in the center. So for this row, in that chain 2 space, we are going to work 3 double crochets. 1 and 2 and 3. Easy enough. And then we just move that stitch marker right on up into the center of those 3. So mark our new center here. And then same thing up the other side. Double crochet in each stitch and each chain space until you get to the very end. When you get to that chain 3 double crochet, then you work 3 stitches right into the top of the chain 3. So I will see you when I have finished row 6. So this is the end of row 6. You can see I just double crocheted again in each stitch and chain space until I got to the end where I had 3 more double crochets. You can see we're well on our way to getting our great shawl shape here. Of course, this is upside down. If you were to wear it, you'd be wearing it this way. But you can see how we've worked from the center out and we're getting our shape. And at this point, we've worked our standard types of rows. We've worked solid rows, we've worked a mesh row, and we've worked a solid row into a mesh row. So these are the basic repeats that make up this entire shawl. The only tricky part is how those centers are treated. So let's take a look at the finished shawl and talk about how each of those is done. So you can see here we've got our row 5, which we worked together with our double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in our marked stitch. And then of course row 6, where we had 3 double crochets right into that chain 2 space. From there, most of the rows follow that pattern. You've got 3 double crochets in the marked stitch there, 3 double crochets in the marked stitch there, same, until we get to, I believe this is row 11, where because of the spacing, it just worked out because I was on a chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next row. When we got to that marked stitch, which was this one right here in the center, I worked a double crochet in the one right before, chain 1, double crochet in the marked stitch and move the marker up to that one, then chain 1 and double crochet the next stitch right away again. So that's how we work the corner for row 11. Then it's back to the standards. Rows 12 and 13 are 3 double crochets in the marked stitch. Row 14, we've got that one of those first corners we worked where it was a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, like so. And then 15 and 16 are back to 3 double crochets in the marked stitch. Let's see, row 17, right here, we use the other method where it's the double crochet in right before the marked stitch, chain 1, double crochet in the marked stitch, mark that one of course, chain 1 and then double crochet in the stitch right after that. And then we're right back to 3 double crochets in the marked stitch, 3 double crochets in the marked stitch, and we finish it off with row 20 with 3 double crochets in the marked stitch right there. So when I have finished row 20, which goes all the way across here to the end, let's find our end here. Then at the end of row 20, rather than turning to work back the other way, I just chain 1 and work single crochet evenly right along the sides of the rows. So this is the top of the shawl. I'm kind of working on a small table here, but I'll turn it so you can see. So just single crochet really evenly right across the tops of the rows. And I find for double crochet rows, 2 single crochets in the side of each row. Let's see, one's easier to see here. You can see I've got my double crochets here. I've worked 2 in the side of that row, and that number worked out really nicely, and I didn't get any buckling or gapping. And I did work 1 extra one right in the center of that magic circle we originally made. So then after single crocheting all the way across to the other end, Then at that end, I went ahead and did a chain 1 and then a single crochet followed by a double crochet in the first stitch, and then skip the next one. So single crochet, double crochet, skip the next one, and just the way it worked out, it ends up meaning that I was skipping those chain 1 spaces and just working to the tops of the double crochets, but this is just a little decorative edging. Single crochet, double crochet, skip the next. All the way across till I got to the center. There we are. Once again, we've got that marked stitch. So in order to work the corner here for the edging, I worked a single crochet, double crochet in each of those 3 center stitches. So rather than just increasing on the center one, I went ahead and worked both those stitches without any skips in between. So you can see a double crochet, a single crochet, double crochet in the first one, same in the second, same in the third. Then I went back to skipping those chain 1 spaces as I came all the way back the other side until I was able to join to that first single crochet we made working right along the edge. And that is how you make the brown butter shawl. Be sure to head to mooglyblog.com to get the free pattern featuring Red Heart Soft Essentials stripes, and I hope you'll make it and I hope you enjoy the pattern. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, let us know what you think in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.